After having put the demon lion Wrath to work on the temple, Solomon bades forth another demon, and might get more than he's bargained for. He's not approached this time by a hound or another feline, but instead an almighty dragon. A dragon with 3 heads, no less, and all of them as vicious as the last. It is actually one of 2 dragons that Solomon encounters in this story, and we'll be speaking about the second one a little later on. Before we dive into today's video though, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video, and that is the Great Courses Plus. The Great Courses Plus is a subscription on-demand video learning service that features lectures and courses from some of the top professors around the world, some even from the Ivy League and other prestigious universities. You'll also find courses run by experts from the National Geographic, the Smithsonian, and the Culinary Institute of America, for all you foodies out there. By signing up to the Great Courses Plus, you gain access to a library of over 11,000 videos and lectures about, well, pretty much anything from science, maths, history, literature, or even the more creative arts, like photography. If you're enjoying hearing about the demons in my recent videos, you might like to know about some of the pagan gods before Christianity, and so I recommend the course The Pagan World: Ancient Religions Before Christianity by Hans Friedrich Müller, which takes a look at how the early pagan religions influenced much of how the world was shaped today. There's such a huge selection to choose from the Great Courses Plus, and so I'm sure you won't have difficulty finding something that tickles your fancy. You can access the Great Courses Plus via your PC, tablet, or even your phone, and you can learn university-grade content at your own pace. No tests, no exams, and best of all, no stress. Just load up a course, sit back, and enjoy. Right now, the Great Courses Plus are offering a free trial. So if you love learning as much as I do, be sure to head over to thegreatcoursesplus.com/The Legends of History to claim your 3-month trial, and to gain access to the 11,000 video lecture library, or hit the link in the description below. And now back to our boy Solomon. So Solomon is stricken by the approach of this winged menace, one he actually described as having a fearful colour. Nonetheless, this doesn't stop him from questioning the demon as it hovers above him, asking, "Who art thou?" And unlike previous demons who can be quite coy or downright defiant, this demon dragon proceeds to tell Solomon everything immediately, from the purpose it serves to the very beings that frustrate it the most. Interestingly though, it never actually tells Solomon its name. The demon dragon declares, "I am a caltrop-like spirit, whose activity in 3 lines, but I blind children in women's wombs, and twirl their ears around, and I make them deaf and mute." Here we understand that he compares himself to a caltrop, which is a 3-pronged weapon made of nails and spikes, and they are frequently used in modern times to deflate the tyres of runaway vehicles. In the past, they were used as early as Roman times against both men and horses, so as to deny them from accessing certain areas. The fact that the dragon refers to himself as a caltrop is obviously in reference to its 3 heads, but also that each head is like a spike, an engineered to cause men harm. We also learn that his role is to cause children in the womb to suffer ailments, and seeks to make them blind and deaf upon birth, rendering them lesser than what they might have been. It subsequently confirms this, saying, "And I have again in my 3rd head means of slipping in, and I smite men in the limbless part of the body, and cause them to fall down, and foam, and grind their teeth." Here it tells Solomon that its 3rd head has means of slipping in, which has been interpreted as slipping into the minds of men, or slipping in blasphemous words that encourage men to abandon the righteous path and commit sin. In this, its 3rd head becomes responsible for temptation and corruption, whilst the other 2 serve in a more typical physical destruction. It also confirms that it smites men and causes them to fall down and suffer such intense pain that they will foam and grind their teeth. Here we understand that unlike previous demons, the dragon is content in doing the one visceral thing, and that is to harm man as much as possible. But whilst it is specific in its destructive ways, it is also quite specific in what repels it. It tells Solomon freely, "But I have my own way of being frustrated, Jerusalem being signified in writing, unto the place called of the head. For there is foreappointed the angel of great counsel, and now he will openly dwell on the cross, he doth frustrate me, and to him am I subject. Here it tells Solomon that he appears to hold the area of Jerusalem in reverence, more specifically, a place he refers to as of the head. It's been debated as to what this means, but some sources indicate that it is referring to Golgotha, the site at which Jesus was crucified. Notice how it refers to one who openly dwells on the cross. It is possible that much like wrath before him, the dragon is also frustrated by Jesus, he who you might say dwelled on that cross in this specific place. Other ideas include an old legend that Adam's skull was buried here at Golgotha, and that the dragon's reference to a head is actually Adam's, and that it is Adam who repels him as the first man. After this, the dragon seems to go on an absolute tangent. It's possible that all three of its heads were talking simultaneously, so it's possible that they were all trying to get a point across, perhaps each individual head maintaining their own sentence. The dragon tells Solomon, "But in the place where thou sittest, O King Solomon, standeth a column in the air of purple." Unfortunately, this sentence is incomplete in the original text. We understand that the dragon is referring to a column in the air where Solomon sits, and that it may have a purple texture, but this cannot be confirmed. Whatever this column is, or whatever significance it has to Solomon, cannot be determined. But the dragon does continue that the demon Fepass has brought it from the Red Sea. The demon called Fepass hath brought it up from the Red Sea, from inner Arabia. He it is that shall be shut up in a skin bottle, and brought before thee. Now you may remember that the last time the demon Fepass was mentioned, it was by Beelzebub, who refuses to present his secret son before Solomon. He does tell Solomon though, that if Solomon can summon the demon Fepass, then that demon can drag Beelzebub's son from the depths, and bring him forth, if so desired. Solomon doesn't appear to do this, at least, not yet. But interestingly, this column that the dragon refers to might also be the pillar of air, which is later used in the Testament, having been brought forth by Fepass and the demon of the Red Sea. Interestingly, the dragon appears to be something of a clairvoyant, given that it also predicts Solomon shutting up Fepass in a water skin bottle, something that does indeed take place. But these random mutterings from the dragon do not cease. It continues, "But at the entrance of the temple, which thou hast begun to build, O King Solomon, lies stored much gold, which dig thou up and carry off." Indeed, the dragon proceeds to randomly tell Solomon after its declaration of the future that there is a whole stack of gold buried deep at the entrance of the temple. He even advises Solomon to retrieve it and take it for himself. Now, if you're thinking that this is a trap, then you're probably right. Indeed, Solomon must think the same thing, which is why he sends a servant to dig it up for him, where it is discovered that there is in fact a crater of gold. But why would the demon tell Solomon this, knowing full well that he'd benefit from it? Well, remember that one of its heads is used to corrupt man, so it's possible that this head revealed the gold to Solomon in an attempt to inspire greed in Solomon, or to get him to praise the sight of the gold more than his Lord God. Where many of the demons have used the form of a woman to seduce Solomon, the dragon uses the form of money, but alas, Solomon cannot be tempted. Whilst he does take the gold, he also binds the dragon with the ring and proceeds to praise God, implying that whilst he took the gold, he could not be influenced nor tricked by it. Solomon proceeds to demand the demon's name, but the demon merely tells him, "I am the crest of dragons," to which Solomon proceeds to bind the demon and force him to make the bricks for the temple. In this last passage, Solomon tells us that the demon actually possessed human hands. After this, another demon appears to Solomon, who we'll discuss in the next video. But after that, Solomon is visited by yet another dragon, this one which comes rolling along similarly to the previous dragon, only this one has the face and hands of a man. Solomon tells us, "It had the face and hands of a man, and all its limbs, except the feet, were those of a dragon. And it had wings on its back, and when I beheld it, I was astonished, and said, Who art thou, demon, and what art thou called, and whence hast thou come? Tell me." The dragon proceeds to tell him, "This is the first time I have stood before thee, O King Solomon. I am a spirit made into a god among men, but now brought to naught by the ring and wisdom vouchsafed to thee by God. And I chamber not with many women, but only with a few that are fair of shape, which possess the name of Zuli, of this star. Here we learn that the spirit thinks of himself as a god amongst men, or that it maintains some worship amongst a certain group of followers. However, because of the signet ring that Solomon possesses, it is now nothing. It declares that it is now a winged dragon, implying that this is the form it has been forced to take, now that it is no longer a god, and that it seduces the most attractive women, those that possess the name of Zuli. Here it reveals that for a spirit of a dragon, it's mighty picky for what type of women it wants to sleep with. I mean, dude, you're a dragon. How you even allow the choice? This only gets even more bizarre when the dragon continues, and I pair with them in the guise of a spirit winged in form, coitum habens per natis. So yes, he appears to them in another form that is winged, possibly as an angel, which of course would lower the woman's guard and make her more susceptible to seduction, given that an angel would likely have a pleasing form and be considered an entity she could trust. The last part of this sentence appears to be Latin, and there is no apparent reason for this. When translated though, it actually refers to anal sex, so it's thought that this spirit sodomizes women. The demon continues that, and she on whom I have leapt goes heavy with child, and that which is born of her becomes Eros. But since such offspring cannot be carried by men, the woman in question breaks wind. Such is my role. Here the demon doesn't quite seem to understand how the human body works, or at least seems to have skipped sex ed classes. He declares that the women get pregnant, despite the Latin in the previous sentence determining him to only penetrate through the buttocks. I suppose you might say he does eventually have traditional intercourse, which causes the woman to become pregnant, but in any case, he deems that the child becomes Eros, possibly a reference to either the Greek god Eros, or more likely that the child is a product of this Eros, or this erotic moment, that he had with the woman. In this, the child is merely a product of his need to have sex, and that the child is nothing more to him than that. However, he then contradicts himself, saying that the women cannot conceive his child anyway, and that they then miscarriage. He finally concludes that when this happens, he is satisfied, and that all other demons will indeed bow before Solomon, and speak to him only in truth thereafter. But he also adds that there are demons who are composed of fire, and that they will collect the logs for the building of the temple, and proceed to burn them. It is unclear here if he means that the demons composed of fire will burn the materials of the temple to keep the place warm by igniting the furnaces, or if he means that they will burn the materials with the intention of destroying the temple. But it is probable that he means the latter, given that he gives a vivid demonstration of his abilities. The dragon spews fire from its mouth, and it consumed the wood of a frankincense tree, and burned up all the logs that Solomon's men had placed in the temple. When Solomon saw this, he marvelled at the dragon's power, and who could blame him, given what a stark difference this dragon is to the previous one. Solomon proceeds to ask the dragon what angel is it that frustrates him, and the dragon replies, by the angel which has its seat in the second heaven, which is called in Hebrew Bezazoth. Whilst we don't get any further elaboration of who this angel is in this section, we do learn that despite the dragon's obvious power, Solomon is triumphant once more. Having heard enough of the demon's words, and likely keen for this engagement to be over for fear of seeing more of the temple burned, Solomon invokes the angel Bezazoth and condemns the dragon to saw up marble for the building of the temple. It appears that not even dragons have the ability to throw Solomon off, although the last dragon surely must have had him worried. Whilst the first dragon seemed more fearful in that it had 3 heads, it went the way most of the other demons had, in that it surrendered its information without too much resistance. The second dragon, meanwhile, proceeds to actually attack the temple, something that we have not seen any other demon be bold enough to do yet. It's also interesting that whilst the first dragon appears to try and trick Solomon with the gold, the second dragon is far more brazen, opting for a more direct approach. But which of the dragons is nastier? Well, it might be obvious that the second dragon is far more wicked, given his willingness to burn the materials of the temple and his potential rape of women, if not the sodomizing of women, for his own sadistic pleasure. However, it's also just as insidious that the first dragon attacks children when they are in the womb, taking their eyes and twisting their ears, so that they are born with life-altering defects. In any case, both dragons appear to be bad news, and luckily, Solomon and his magic ring are strong enough to defuse them and set them to work on the temple. But let me know what you thought about the two demon dragons in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this. Until the next time.